Uh, hey, G. Oh, never mind. He's here. Got it.
Yeah.
April, how are you? I do a call right before this. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
I do a call right before this, April, and there's another girl named April, but you don't look anything alike. So,
yeah, I'm getting ready for a listing presentation, so I couldn't get on this morning.
Oh, wait. Oh, on the 9 o'clock, the Friday coaching call?
Yeah.
Do you usually get on that? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I got on the last time. The one before that, there was
business planning one.
Yeah, I got on the business planning one. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. All right, well, let's get started, guys. I like this one a lot because it's going to open up a lot of things. What I didn't like is that it made getting a listing this week 7, made getting a listing. Well, before I get started, how many of you read the email? Do you get the email for the ramp call? I send it out. Gina sends it out on Mondays, and we talk about this week's coming call and what happened. And I did mention that, you know, this is the beginning of the second half, right? Week 7 is the beginning of the second half of the course. And, you know, checking in on, did you get your business plan done? Did you get your homework assignments done and things like that? Are you downloading everything that they give you to download and keep it? And there is a lot, you know, and the intention of this is that, seriously, if you took a brand new agent and guided them through this sort of step by step, the way that we're doing, that they could go from brand new to closing 2 homes a month by having gone through the course. None of you that I know of here are absolutely brand new. Some of you are newer, and some of you are not so new. Manny, how many years you got, Manny?
I've got a little over 4. September was my 4th year.
Yeah. And then, you know, I know people on here who have a lot more experience than that. And that's, the experience level doesn't matter. It's so much more about what you're willing to execute and do. But so let me just take a minute and say, let's forget about week 7 for a second. Questions, comments, ahas, thoughts, anything about week 1 through week 6 right now?
I just put in the chat, but I really wish I had a program like this or this program when I started. I think even just going through what to do when you have a buyer after you get the yes would have been leaps and bounds helpful for me in the beginning. So I think thank you for offering it. So I think this program's awesome, and I can't wait to build more people in our organization. And it makes me feel confident that new people can come in and absorb this information and have so much to go from.
Thank you, Carolyn. That's great. And I like the program a lot because it's just very step-by-step and consistent. And, you know, and even the instructor's delivery, I'm a big fan. I know every single one of those instructors literally very well. And Sarah is my favorite presenter on there because she is a former news anchor, TV news anchor. And she doesn't look like she's reading the teleprompter. I look at the other ones, I get really critical. I'm like, you can tell you're reading the teleprompter, stop that, you know. But if you forget all of that and you just listen to the content and download what they're giving us to download, it really does help. So thanks, Carolyn. Who else has got something a question, thought, comment, aha, anything from the first? Questions are allowed. Like, I don't understand this, or I want to do more of that, whatever is okay. So. Okay, so let's do that then. Let's move into week 7. First, I realized last week I had a lot of fun talking about week 6, but I didn't mention the book. And the scroll this week was scroll number 2, and scroll number 2 is one of my favorites. It always was, and it starts with, "I will greet this day with love in my heart." And Verl in the recap, I always like the recaps better than anything because Verl always talks about the scrolls with enthusiasm. He's very he is very attached to the Augmandino Foundation. There's a guy named David Blanchard who heads up the Augmandino Foundation. So he uses his stuff a lot and really promotes it to the world. But it says, I will greet this day with love in my heart, for this is the greatest secret of success in all ventures. Muscle can split a shield and even destroy life, but only the unseen power of love can open the hearts of men. And until I master this art, I will remain no more than a peddler in the marketplace. I will make love my greatest weapon, and none on whom I call can defend against its greatest force. My reasoning they may counter, my speech they may distrust, my apparel they may disapprove, my face they may reject, and even my bargains may cause them suspicion. Yet my love will melt all hearts, likened to the sun whose rays soften the coldest day. I will greet each day with love in my heart. So, and he talks about this because this one is mostly about sellers. And with sellers, you need to greet them with love. But I really want to go backwards one step, which was the very first video of week 7, where they talked about the disc. How many of you have some idea about behavioral styles, discs, or anything other? And I really need to hear from you. So everybody I can see on cameras has said something. April, you are not familiar with this stuff. So, right? I don't see a hand.
I'm very familiar, yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay, I didn't see your hand. Mike, what about you, buddy? I didn't see your hand. Okay, good. So the rest of you, I don't see you on camera, didn't see hands, but I'm going to assume a lot of you have an idea about this. And if you don't, I'm going to very highly suggest that you read a book called The Platinum Rule. Okay, The Platinum Rule by Dr. Tony Alessandro. Okay, if any of you, oh, Gina's still on. Gina, if you can find a link to that book and put it in there, I know you've probably done that before. And
which one was it, OG?
It's called The Platinum Rule.
Okay, I'll find
the name of the book, and it's Dr. Tony Alessandro. So I've met Dr. Tony Alessandro before, but when I first started reading this book, he might as well have been an idol to me, because it was my first exposure to the 4 behavioral styles. And the book was written in 1996, and that's when I was introduced to the book. And then I remember trying to buy it online once, and they said, oh, it was out of print. Well, it's definitely had a resurgence, because now you can find it just about anywhere. But it basically talks about the 4 behavioral styles. Gina put the link in there for you. But one of the things about it is I started teaching the disc after I joined KW and became a faculty member, probably about 2004 or 5, probably 4 or 5 like that, and really loved what it represented and how it helped me. Because if you look at my first wife, Heidi, the girlfriend I had after my first wife, Heidi, both of those relationships went up in flames, right? And Ryan, I'm speaking to you directly now, just so you know. And then my wife now, probably higher D than the other ones. Why is this one working and the other 2 failed? Well, it has nothing to do with them. It has to do with me, right? It has to do with my ability to understand the behavioral style of the person I'm with and adapt accordingly, okay? Now, I'll give you a quick example. I got a Facebook message from somebody the other day, and they go, I just cut somebody off in traffic, and because I was late and I had to go, and it reminded me of you. And I'm like, what? And she said, because you used to do a disc class where you told people about the way different people handled traffic based on being a D, an I, or an SRC. And I remember that. I said, a D, they see like, you know, a 30 car backup to get off at an exit. They just get in the left lane next to it, take off, and then just cut somebody in. How many of you Ds have done that? Thank you, Carolyn, for stepping up. All right. Now, what's an I do? An I does the same thing, only they get in the next lane over, they take off, and then they find a little opening, and they look back over their shoulder, and they go, and they blow them a kiss, and then they cut in, right? Why? They want to be in a hurry, but they don't want anybody mad at them. The D doesn't care. If you like them, don't like them, they don't care. They're just going. What about the S? The S's and C's are the people that are in the 30 car line waiting to get off, because they're more compliant. They're more caring about what other people think. They're more caring about helping other people. The S's would be the person that would go, oh yeah, get in. Yeah, it's okay, get in, right? So I even talked to a guy once that was an expert, and he said, I can pick him out by the car. He said, you want to cut somebody off, pick a Volvo. He said, pick a Subaru. He said, they're more likely to let you in. And I'm like, oh my God, you really boiled it down to that, right? So it really is understanding the disc allows you to communicate in a way that they'll hear you. Coming home one day early in our living together, we weren't married yet, Casey and I, and I remember her calling, and you could tell she had urgency in her voice about something. And she said, like, it was a second thought, how are you? How was your day? And it was almost like you could hear in her voice that how are you? How was your day? Wasn't the reason she called, but she felt like she had to say that because her husband's a high I. Okay, meaning I want the touchy feely. But I could hear the urgency, and I've studied the disc. I teach the disc. So I said, my day is great. Do you want the D answer or the I answer? And she goes, I need the D answer. I go, my day was fine. What did you call about, honey? We got skipped right to the point. That took less than 10 seconds. But if I did my normal answer, you want to know how my day is? Oh my God, honey. So it started with the shower, 5:30 a.m. It was great, right? And then you start that, and you know what the D does? The D gets the gun and goes, right? Ryan, are you the high I in the family?
Definitely. This is hilarious. I'm laughing over here because
I know, because
I can relate to this very well.
You're me and Carolyn's Casey. I knew it from the first time I had you guys on. So
how do you recognize those profiles in other people? Like I feel like I'm still at the beginning of like self-awareness for myself.
Yeah.
And then I meet other people, and it's hard for me sometimes to take a step back and be like, what are the cues that I should be looking for to recognize what you are?
Yep. Yeah. So it's language, it's energy, it's body language, all of those things. But it's deeper than the disc. In other words, the disc is going to tell you what their default behavioral style is. Most people don't know, but the behavioral style assessment is geared to tell you how people will behave under stressful situations. That's what it's meant to tell you. Because during normal unstressful situations, you can easily go in and out of all behavioral styles. But you can even listen to someone's language in their normal behavioral style when they're just relaxing and still see, get me that, and point to something. Versus, like I would know if somebody said, get me that, that's mostly going to be towards a high D. Because a high IS or sometimes C, but definitely I's and S's would go, would you mind grabbing me that thing right there that's on the table? Like you could pick it up anywhere once you start to be more aware of it. Now, in the old days, like in the 80s, when I first became a realtor, I listened to a guy named Tommy Hopkins. Anybody ever heard of him? He was a sales trainer. He's still around. I think EXP has him come and stuff like that. And Tommy Hopkins would tell people to mimic and match their prospect. Way back when, right? What did mimic and match mean? If your client sat up straight, you sat up straight. If your client leaned in, you leaned in. If your client spoke slowly and steadily, you spoke slowly and steadily. If your client crossed his legs or crossed his arms, you mimicked them. That was the initial beginning of understanding behavioral styles. And understanding behavioral styles and speaking and reacting, which will be most heard or absorbed by them, is a higher level of mimicking and matching. So you don't need to cross your legs if they cross your legs. More importantly, you need to figure out their behavioral style, because if they're a high D, and when you go to take someone's listing and you have two people sitting there, maybe a spouse and a spouse, it's even tougher because most of the time those spouses are going to be different behavioral styles. And what I learned, especially in the mid 2000s, where I became the best listing agent I'd ever been at that point in my 20 something year in the business, is if I could detect that like a lot of times, more times than not, the wife was the high D and the husband was maybe an I or an S, then when I'd look at the wife and I go, oh yeah, that'll happen, like that. And then when I look at the husband, especially if he's an S, and I'd go, I want to make sure you understand that this won't be disruptive to your life and things won't feel like they're changing very much. So what I said in 3 words to the wife, I did 4 sentences to the husband for the exact same answer, essentially, right? What do S's hate? You have to know what they don't like, right? What's fear? S's don't like change, right? And D's don't have a fear. They just don't want their time wasted. And that's not a fear. It's a pet peeve. There's a difference. Don't waste my time. Get to the bottom line, right? And I used to use another example. It'd be like, if you handed somebody this amazing flyer you made, you handed it to a D. The D would look at the flyer, flip it over real quick, throw it down and say, what's this mean bottom line? Right? If you hand that same flyer to the I is going to look at it, flip it over, look at it, and go, how did you get such a bright yellow on your flyer? Right? And if you look at the S, you hand that same flyer to the S is going to look at it. Let's say it's a flyer on selling your home. The S is going to look at it and say, this is really good information. How disruptive is this going to be to what I'm normally used to? Right? And the C will look at that flyer and say, where'd you get these numbers? Are they accurate? Like, so starting to understand the different ways people react to different things. But more importantly, you will have so much trouble with it unless you understand you. That's where it starts. It's knowing your behavioral style, watching your reactions, watching what triggers you, and catching yourself from saying or doing anything. And that all happens in a moment like that until you realize, what is it about me that's causing me to be triggered by what just happened? Oh, Mike, your daughter's so adorable. So think about that for a minute. When you do the disc, you really have to understand you. So now I already knew the disc when I started dating Casey, and I started to understand that she's a super high D. She does have a high I, but it's muted, completely muted until the work's done. And her fun I comes out only after there's calm. Like, oh, that's all done. Right? So excuse my language, but I like to say the D is the get shit done personality style. Just get shit done. And usually D's feel like no one else is going to do it the way they do it. So let me just do it. That way I'll know it'll get done the way I wanted it. Now, there's something called the love languages. Have you guys heard of this thing? The 5 love languages. And people say it's only important in relationships, but it's very important if you're working in a tight situation at work. Like, I like to know the love languages of my buyer's agents. And you might say, well, that's inappropriate. I go, no, it's not at all. Okay, so my love languages are physical touch and words of acknowledgement. Pet me and tell me I'm pretty. That's what that means. But my wife's love languages are quality time and acts of service. Do you know it took me a long time to figure that out? Because what do we want to do to other people naturally? We want to do our love language to other people. All right. The reason the love languages and the platinum rule go together is because the main thing about the platinum rule is it goes against the golden rule. The golden rule was do unto others as you would like done unto you. The platinum rule breaks that and says, no. Do unto others as others would like done unto them. Not how you'd like done unto you. And that's why the love languages was so powerful, because now I said, I'm wanting to physically touch my wife or my girlfriend at the time and to tell her how amazing she is. Physical touch, words of acknowledgement. Now, we did the love languages test early in our relationship. Started dating in 2008. We did it in early 2009. No, I think we actually did it in late 2009. And then I found out hers was acts of service. So we weren't living together yet. On certain days, I'd either go over and mow. She was renting a house. I was renting an apartment. I would go over and cut the lawn in her backyard while she was gone. She had these clothes called Lululemon. I called Lululemon and said, what do I have to do to wash these and make sure I don't do anything wrong with them? The lady on Lululemon spent like 15 minutes on the phone. Wash them on cold, gentle cycle. Use something like Woolite or a really delicate soap. Put them on delicate on the spin, and then hang them up till they dry. Do not ever put them in a dryer. So she'd come home and they'd all be hung up. Her washer and dryer were in her garage, and there was a rail there that she hung things on. They'd all be hung up, and I'd be gone. I would drop by during the day, do these acts of service. Well, our relationship was skyrocketing from then because I figured out what acts of service meant. And then I'd call her and I'd say, hey, why don't we do a date night where we can just sit around, chat with each other, maybe watch a movie in your house or something, you know, that's quality time, right? So that it makes a difference. But you might say, how does this relate to what they were talking about? It's understanding when you're dealing with a buyer or seller, how you can deliver the message so that they hear it. All right. You know, even explaining a contract, if you got two people, one's a C and one's a D, oh my gosh, the C wants to hear every detail and the D wants to poke themselves in the eye with a needle. So it's always going to be a challenge for you. I'm going to stop right there. It is a lot of fun to know it. It's a lot of fun to watch it. I had some female friends that were also disc instructors, and we would say things just so that we'd take bets with each other behind the podium. And okay, if I say this, watch that guy in the left corner, he'll twitch, you know, and stuff like that. So it was fun, but at the same time, it really is about how you can connect with people at a much deeper level once you know that is. Then if you need to continue to be in touch with them, like my team, my sales team, I'd want to know their love languages, right? Because if somebody has physical touch, you're not going to make out with them on the team. They're your team. But if you want to congratulate them, physical touch means if I put my arm or hand on his shoulder or her shoulder and say, thank you so much, that's enough right there. That little physical touch made the difference. It's not about like, oh no, this is for lovers. No. If I know that somebody on my team has words of acknowledgement as their love language, then I'm going to say all the time, Mary, you did a wonderful job on that. I'm really grateful for how hard you work and the commitment you have to your success and to helping the team out. Words of acknowledgement, right? Acts of service, you know, hey, can I help you write that contract? Or, hey, I noticed your trash can was full under your desk. I grabbed it and emptied it. I hope that was okay. You know, something like that. And then as you look at them, you know, one is gifts. Well, a gift can be a book, right? Like you'd be surprised how many people I've given this to, right? And they get it and they go, oh, wow, would you mind signing the inside? I go, I'm not the author. They go, no, just that you were giving it to me. So that's the kind of thing that you want to really pay attention to. So I would encourage you to do that. Have the people that you're in close relationship with give you a love languages results and pay attention to it, but certainly figure out their disc together. Then the second video was about listings. So was the third video, a lot of good stuff in there about understanding that. By the way, guys, you want to understand that before I get off the disc completely, that that D's, high D's make up only 3% of the population. High I's make up 11%. High S's make up 69% of the population. So if you look at I's and S's, that's 80% of the population. 80%. C's and D's, C's are 17%, D's are 3%, that they make up the last 20%. If you round the S's to 70%, the majority of the shopping, the advertising on television is geared towards that person, towards that S. So, and you know, S's are committed to supporting others. The problems with the universe is that S's, especially S's, but all of the behavioral styles don't like asking for help. None of the behavioral styles naturally like to ask for help. S's are the worst at it because they think they're put on earth to help, not to be asking for help. Okay. But all of the behavioral styles don't like to ask for help. And none of the behavioral styles naturally, remember we talked about naturally, none of the behavioral styles naturally will lead generate. Lead generation, the activity of lead generation is not one that behaviorally any of them would do. It doesn't fall into their behavioral reactions. And the reason is different for each of the behavioral styles, but you need to know if you're good at lead generation, that's because you are, mind size, your mind is saying, we got to do this. And it's uncomfortable for all 4 behavioral styles. Okay. D's don't like their time wasted. Can sometimes lead generation feel like a waste of time? Yes or no? Hell yes. Right. I's don't like to be rejected. Do you get rejected when you lead generate? Yes. S's don't like change. If you lead generate a lot, shit's going to change. Right? And C's, they wouldn't mind lead generating. They just want to make sure that they have an analysis of what's going to happen when they lead generate. And it takes them years to figure that out before they'll sit down and lead generate. And yet, if you're really super smart, one of the, you know, I think about this guy all the time. His name was Brett, right? Brett Janelle. He was in my Pleasanton Keller Williams office when I owned it. Highest C I ever met in my life. And what trailed the C was a D. There was no warm and fuzzy with Brett. But you know what Brett did well? He figured it out. You know, smart-wise, he figured out that I had to sit down and lead generate 3 hours every day. Okay? So, doesn't matter your behavioral style, it matters your intent, your smartness. Can you overcome the behavioral discomfort of lead generating? So, all right. So as we think about one thing that I was really excited to share with you, if you've signed up for this program, which you have if you're on here, you have access to 3 other programs beside AMP, and one of them is SLAM, Seller Listing Agent Mastery. If you like the little teaser on the tongue of what they talked about under becoming a good listing agent in this week's information, then go watch SLAM. SLAM's a heck of a lot of videos, and it's all about becoming an amazing listing agent. Okay? That's what I want to encourage you to do. I don't want to distract you from RAMP, but if that part said, wow, I really do want to be a listing agent, and everybody does, not everybody, but most people want to be a listing agent because there's less time commitment to list a house and get it sold than there is to take a buyer and get them under contract. So just something for you to consider. Let's see. And then the rest of it was pretty common. Like, you know, I like that the theme through the last 2 or 3 videos, certainly Cleve's last one was about under promise, over deliver. And, you know, Gina, over the years that she's been with me, has developed, I think, well over 50 items that happen from the minute we start into the listing process until it's over. You know, with the last thing being, you know, maybe the closing gift or something. I don't even know. It's her business, not mine. But and it is a complicated process to be an incredible listing agent. But at the beginning, at the end of the day, it's still about finding somebody who said they'll list with you, or just simply finding somebody who wants to sell their house and then convincing them to list with you. So definitely want you to be keeping that in mind. This is not Malcolm Gladwell in the book Outliers talks about the 10,000 hour rule. That the way people, I mean, I've been in a lot more than 10,000 hours after this. I don't even know how many years it takes to do it, but I'm in 41 years. I got it. I got my 10,000 hours. But I do want you to know that you do need to commit to becoming an amazing listing agent if you do. And listings attract buyers. I used to think I had to do 50-50, but I've been taught that I don't need to do 50-50. It'd be better if I was doing 40-60, meaning 40% of my business was sellers and 60 was buyers, because if I have a buyer team of 9 buyers agents or 10 right now, like we do, then it's going to be important that I keep getting listings so that they can keep getting buyer leads. Okay. And you should, according to Workman Success Systems and the statistics we've been able to see with some of our clients, that you should be able to sell you should have 1.5 buyer closings for every seller closing. And, you know, Vanessa, that's something I've been meaning to talk to you about. But if you keep track, if you are doing a powerful job of marketing your listings, you should be able to close, not get. You should be able to get 6 to 8 buyer leads per listing all day, every day. But when you're looking at it, you should, for instance, if you closed 20 listings in a year, you should have been able to close 30 buyers. But a lot of that doesn't happen unless you've got buyer specialists on your team to surrender those to. But anyway, so something to consider. Okay, so this was a little bit more, I really liked it. There was some, let's see, let me see if I can find him here. Yeah, I think we had there was something that I had to request to Google, but there was a template for a really nice template for a listing presentation. Did you guys see that? I think it was worth having. And then what else do we have here? Copy of a pre-listing presentation, which I think I'm going to emulate some of that. And we do, since this is the only call I do where I absolutely know you're all EXP. If you've gone to the marketing tab, have any of you guys done that? There's a lot of good stuff there that's templated, and all you got to do is put in your logo and send it out, right? So, the video mentioned a flyer template. Well, there was one of them, guys, that I clicked on, and it didn't. It said you must request access or something. So maybe that one's it. I don't know, but let's see what I was able to get. Yeah, that's all I was able to get really was the listing, pre-listing template and the listing template. So maybe go back, and then you guys can always email John, Jon at workmansuccesssystems.com, and then he can figure out if we're missing something. Okay. So anybody here today on the free Friday coaching call? I know Larry was, Manny was, Mike was. I'm going to suggest that you guys jump on that once in a while. I know it's tough to do 2 hours in a row on any Friday for any reason of any one thing, but luckily they're available on a YouTube channel, all the recordings from those calls. Today's was a really good one, in my opinion, to the follow-up of the one we did on the 1st of October about the business plan. And if you haven't finished your business plan workbook, you know, it's probably going to be a good one to remind you what you're doing and what you're not doing. All right. Okay. That's my message for today. Let me open up the phones for you guys. Questions, comments, thoughts, ahas. What do you got?
So I have a comment actually.
Yeah, April.
So when it comes to like the pre-listing packet, I think over the years I've used them all. But I've recently, through another business coach that I have, started doing a, kind of putting my process into a method, which I now appropriately call the right method. Mm-hmm. So it kind of does all of the above. So it takes like the pre-listing part of your pre-listing packet, and it puts it into a process, like a step-by-step process. Mm-hmm. And I branded it obviously to my theme and to my logo and whatnot. And I found that to be, I guess, a little bit more polished when we're sending out the pre-listing packets, because it includes, the things that we have in the pre-listing packet, but it kind of makes it look a little bit more like it is my own thing. But so I like the fact that EXP provides us the pre-listing. Well, you guys have provided as well. But I just took it I guess I leveled up, I guess you can say, and turned it into an exclusive process that I do specifically with all my clients to kind of separate me from all the other realtors.
That's really well. So when you say the process, like one of the things I've struggled with for my whole career was pre-listing packets. Sometimes they happen by a phone call. Hi, Rick, my friend told me about you. Come and list my house, right? Mm-hmm. Or I need you to come over here and talk to me. Like not even enough time. Like, can you come over this afternoon? And I have all kinds of other excuses if you'd like to hear them also, April. They're really good.
Absolutely.
But what I mean by that is there are a lot of agents I know that are successful that don't use pre-listing packets. I advocate pre-listing packets, and yet I'm not currently using them successfully. But we do a really great job with our listing presentation. And Shauna, my team leader, and I, and Gina, my incredible assistant, are deciding right now, because we just completely rebranded. We're doing, you'd think I was 38 years old and just starting in real estate, and I'm 64 and we're rebuilding everything. But, this is a serious business, this real estate business, and it doesn't matter that we're all with EXP. If you're a listing agent, you're a listing agent no matter what company you end up at. You just got to figure out what works for you and brand it to you so that it's yours. You can take the stuff that EXP offers as ideas, use them, template them, whatever, but put you all over them. So
I was actually using this as my pre-listing packet. So I just did a book, and then I would have this delivered, and it shows them the 80-20 rule is kind of what I do. how you focus on, you know, the main uniqueness of the property instead of trying to market the whole property.
Where can
So that was
where can I buy that book and steal your ideas from? Excuse me.
So actually I did originally do it as a digital book, and then I just paid the company that did the whole publishing and stuff for me. I just purchased them and I use them as my marketing piece now. So nice. Yeah. I have to, honestly, I'd have to look up the link to tell you where you can find it at from me, because I literally just use it for the purpose of my listing packages.
Right. But if other people on here, can they buy that?
My book, if you want my face all over it and all my information all over it, sure. If you guys, well, you know, if you want to set it up, then I can mail them to you guys if you want it. Or you know what, actually, no, I'll get the link and then you guys can download it if you'd like. But I'll have to look it up because I don't use the link anymore. I actually just use the printed books. But yeah, if you want that, if you want to, I can email it over to you guys.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we don't, obviously not about plagiarism, but you're basically saying, and you wrote that whole book yourself, or?
Ghostwriter.
Oh, okay.
Well, no. So what it is as I tell them what I want, and they just like any other person that does their own book, I go in and tell them what I want, and then I do adjust it. So it's not like you know, it's someone else writing it completely. So it is, you have someone else that helps do it. But I go in and I change, alter it. They'll throw in some facts and some statistics that I don't have to pull up. We just fact checked them, is basically what we do, or what I did. So they do a lot of the heavy lifting. I go in and just make it mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. April, did you use Authorify?
On this one?
Because I have one too.
I want to say it might be Authorify, because I know I had two. So that one does sound familiar, and I'll have to double check if it was. I just didn't change anything. Yeah, but I went through and I just changed a lot into it.
Because the one that I used, you could go in and completely rewrite everything in the in the manuscript. So I completely like rewrote almost the whole thing.
Did you?
So I'm just wondering if that's the one, because that's a good one to use.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it sounds familiar. I want to say if I didn't use that one, there was another one that I used too. I've had this for about 2 years now, and this has been like my business card. So instead of me sending a listing packet, I would hand deliver these to them.
Yeah, I personally love this idea, guys, and I appreciate you. I mean, for myself too, not just as an instructor, but yeah, if we can do something like that, Anne-Marie and April, if you can share with us, you can email them to Gina and we'll get them out to everybody or whatever. But I love that. Like, here's my pre-listing packet. That's awesome. Right.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, even if it's an ebook or whatever, there's something about handing somebody something that says written by you and you're going to be their listing agent. Right.
Right.
I had a guy, it's only happened once, but I went to a listing appointment. It was like 2011, I think. And I'd been hitting the road speaking for Keller Williams by then for it'd been about 7 years of me speaking and traveling. And I went to a listing appointment and the lady said, "Oh, we're so glad to meet you. You were really highly recommended by so-and-so." I go, "Oh, thank you very much. Now I know by talking to you on the phone, you said you'd be interviewing other agents. Am I your last one?" And they go, "As a matter of fact, you are." Well, the wife was a little D, but she was mostly I, and the husband was mostly D. And he said, "We actually talked to an agent that said that you only sell real estate part-time. You're mostly a speaker and a trainer." And I said, "Oh, I'd be curious to know who said that." And he said, "One of the people we talked to." I said, "Would you mind sharing who it is? We're all in the same marketplace. I'm sure I'll know." And they told me, and I said, "Oh, well," and I looked at the seller and I said, "Do you play golf?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "I only asked because I saw golf clubs in the garage when we were walking through the house." And he said, "Yeah, I love playing golf." He said, I said, "If you had more time, would you play more golf?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "If you had more money, would you play more golf?" He said, "Definitely." I said, "Your golf is my speaking and training." I said, "I do it for fun. I don't make enough money doing it I said, do you make money playing golf? He goes, not yet. And I said, all right. I said, I don't make much at it. I said, I do it because I like doing it. It's kind of like my golf. And I said, my income, my living, my career is selling houses. I said, and no offense, the only way that, and I said his name, the other agent, I said, the last 2 classes I've taught around here, he's been right in the front row listening. And I won that listing, right? So I think it's very powerful when you put yourself as the authority. And if you're writing the book and handing it to them, you're the authority. It doesn't matter how it happened, right? So good for you, both of you. That's a really good idea. So.
I love this book idea for another reason too.
Yeah.
Marketing items get thrown away after you win the listing item or win the listing. Like if they have a book that they might hold on to and keep on their coffee table, or if they just collect books, that keeps marketing material in their house for 5 to 7 years, let's say, right? Yeah. So I think I definitely want to jump on this book idea.
Ryan, that's so funny you said that. I used to tell my clients, because I'm talking in the 80s, I was one of only 8 or 10 agents in the entire board that paid this one lady. You know what flyers look like now. You can digitally do anything, right? But back then, there was this one lady who had the flyer company that only the best agents used. And she would make a flyer, 1 page, and then she would go out with her camera and take a picture of the house. We'd have to tell our clients to get the outside ready, because all she was taking, that's all you could do, 1 picture of the front of the house. And then she would go develop 100 copies of them, and she had a glue paste thing, and she would glue paste and put them in that one spot on the flyer, and you'd get this stack of flyers. And my clients I thought it was amazing, right? Like that somebody was doing something so cool. It was thick stock paper, right? And one of my clients says, why do you pay for this? I said, because people won't throw this away. They'll come to your open house, they'll take this. It'll end up sitting on their coffee table because they're too afraid to crumple up this thick thing with an actual, 5x7 picture on it. And
it is good for marketing, actually, that you mentioned it, Ryan. I actually have someone that owns a mechanic shop, and he has this on his desk, and that's how I get leads from him. And I have people saying, hey, I saw your book on, so-and-so's desk. And I've gotten a few leads just because they've seen the book sitting there. And he's a reader, so that helps too.
Yeah. Nice. Good. I love this. We're talking about business. See this? Not mindset. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for sharing. You guys probably have Gina's email address. If not, you can just send it to empirebuilders.pro@gmail.com. empirebuilders.pro@gmail.com. So,
Rick, I have a question.
Yes, Anne Marie.
The pre-listing guide, is it, you might have said this, sorry if I missed it, but is it editable?
That's a good question. I don't know. You're talking technology now, and that's not, let me just see.
Okay, because it says view only. I'd love to be able to edit it somehow and brand it, but I didn't see a way to do that.
If you make a copy, you should be able to edit it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Who said that?
Mike said that.
Yeah, it says you can, entire presentation, select slides. Yeah. If that doesn't work, Anne Marie, just email empirebuilders.pro@gmail.com and we'll figure it out. Okay.
Okay.
We'll get John to do that. Or you can go right to John at John, Jon, at workmansuccesssystems.com. So.
Okay.
All right, cool. Any other comments, thoughts, questions, ahas, realizations? Okay, good. All right. Well, let's kick some butt, guys, and have a good weekend. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys next Friday at 10 a.m. And let me know if there's anything I can do for you in the meantime. All right. Thanks, April.
Thank you. Hey, Rick, real quick. Do you have any agents in Placerville?
Placerville? Yes.
Yeah, you do?
We don't have any in Placerville, but we do have some.
Placerville?
So, yeah. You want to, do you have my cell, Carolyn?
I don't. I think I have just Casey's.
If you ever need my cell and don't have it, you just Google my name and it actually pops up. So
perfect.
There you go. I put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Text me and I'll connect you. Okay.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Placerville.
Just giving you a hard time. Congratulations to you and Ryan on getting married.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.